Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Aisha, your host. The upcoming presidential election in the United States between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton has occupied worldwide attention. Various news reports have kept count of how many lies each candidate has told. As people who want to stay true to our faith but also be engaged citizens, how do we navigate between religion and politics, which often seems to include deception and lies? Let's sit down with Dr. Shabir Ali to get his perspectives on this topic. Welcome to the show, Dr. Shabir.
Pleasure to be on.
So we're living in a time where there's a very obvious division between the state and religion. How do you reconcile the two while trying to be engaged citizens but also respecting and being faithful to our faith?
Well, actually, it actually creates more opportunities for Muslims to feel at home where they live. Because if we imagine that there's a theocracy, then that will only cater for one particular faith group. And, the chance of that being a Muslim theocracy is very slim, even in parts of the world where supposedly there is a Muslim caliphate or a Muslim rule. Many Muslims remain dissatisfied with the outcomes because, on the one hand, we find many of the states, though having the outward appearance of being governed by Muslims, they may have actually departed far from the Islamic ideals. There are human rights violations and so on that go on in so-called Muslim countries, and that's certainly not Islamic. And
so you're saying this way, sorry, go ahead.
On the other hand, I wanted to say, by contrast, you might have something like the so-called Islamic State, which calls itself an Islamic State and have every appearance of trying to be as Muslim as possible, but the interpretation and understanding of what is meant by Islam is quite backward, and that will make many Muslims uncomfortable as well. So either we're uncomfortable this way or the other way. Whereas, on the other hand, in a modern state in which there is a separation between church and state, between religion and politics, Muslims have a greater scope to be equal players with others as part of a democratic, pluralistic society. And they can be equal contributors to the growth and development of their society.
So you're saying this way we get more of a freedom of religion in some ways?
Yeah, so long as the state does not interfere with the religious practice of individuals, everyone is free whether to believe or not to believe. And if you do believe, then in what particular way you want to express your belief and your practice. So it's a good thing that Muslims have this, and Muslims can participate. They should welcome this and be active participants, equal citizens with others in shaping the future of the countries in which they live.
So I want to shift the conversation now a bit to the upcoming presidential election in the United States. Whenever there have been debates or even on an ongoing basis, you'll see, Trump had said X number of lies, Clinton has said X number of lies, similar with their vice presidential campaigns, etc. So in some ways, aren't we we don't believe in lying? So in some ways, if we're voting and we're engaging in the political process, aren't we in some ways promoting and supporting this kind of political rhetoric?
We have to treat it as the lesser of two evils, if that's what it amounts to. And in fact, this is the situation not only for Muslims, but more generally. Prior to the first major debate that was held between Clinton and Trump, one analyst in a popular newspaper had already said that according to a recent poll, 75% of American voters were planning to vote for the candidate that they dislike in order to stop the other candidate whom they dislike all the more. And of course, after the first debate, things started to look a little bit differently, and many started to favor Clinton because even though, as you said, the lies were evident and on both sides, it was more evident on one side. And one reporter, soon after that major debate, said that Trump told 34 and Hillary told 4. So 34 to 4 is not a small difference. And while we may allow a few to go by because people are speaking impromptu and then on the spur of the moment, they have to answer questions. People don't remember all of the facts and so on. So we might excuse a few misstatements, but 34 is a very large number. And when we see, for example, Trump being prompted by the moderator and reminded that it was actually ruled unconstitutional, this stop and frisk policy in New York, and Trump kept insisting, no, it wasn't, and the moderator keeps insisting that it was, and he keeps denying it. And even if he was unaware of this outcome, how can he forget that he once supported the war in Iraq? How can he forget that he actually once denied the reality of climate change? How can he forget that he kept insisting that the current president of the United States, Barack Obama, was not born in America? So it seems difficult to accept that these are just simply misstatements by the spur of the moment, and something greater is at work here. And what we notice is that in modern times, people of very important authority and great influence are no longer trustworthy. And this is a phenomenon that people of religion need to take seriously. We need to ask, how has religion so receded to the background that in the foreground of American life or world politics, something as simple as truth and honesty gets put on the back burner?
What resources can people go to because the election is coming up very soon. What resources are you aware of that people can go to get more information about the truth and the facts?
Well, there are websites actually that do fact checking. To the extent that even during that major presidential debate that I spoke of, there was a website streaming the transcripts as quickly as they could be produced, transcripts of what was being said
as it was going on.
As it was going on. And at the same time, they were interjecting their own comments as to whether or not the statements were factual. So one can do a quick search for fact-checking websites, and one will find sites that are devoted to giving us the facts. More than this, Muslims need to learn something about the histories of the countries in which we live. We need to understand the politics. We need to understand what makes the country thrive. And we need to study the speeches of the politicians. We need to understand what are their positions and see what positions are good for Muslims in particular, for the American people on the whole, for the world. And it is important that when we vote, we don't vote only with the self-interest of Muslims, but we think more generally about the longevity of our countries and the interest of us and our citizens on the whole.
What's one final message you have for our U.S. friends as they get ready for elections? Well,
of course, we may have many U.S. voters living in Canada watching our show, and our show is watched worldwide. So my advice to American voters and others is that if you're a Muslim, it is your civic responsibility to do the best you can in the circumstances in which you find yourself. So you may not always be able to achieve the best result that you want or the ideal result, but you do the best you can in the circumstance. You vote for the person, regardless of gender, who is better suited for the position, who promises more to look after the rights and interests of all citizens, whether they be Muslims or others.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Hey YouTube, we hope you benefited from this video. If you liked it, or if you didn't, let us know in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more, check out some of our other videos. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.